Hey, everybody. Welcome to the All Things Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Nick Dorsey. We don't have a big time sponsor today, so nobody came through. So today's show is brought to you by Drew Aversa. Coaching, speaking, and consulting. Hey, his link is down in the comments if you're on LinkedIn, and hit that, man. Go check him out, man. It's going to be great for you, and let him know I sent you. So today's guest, man, he's a consultant, he's a speaker, he's a keynote speaker. He helps be leadership classes. I mean, he goes in and generally helps companies rebrand some of their stuff and rebuild. And like I said, he's a keynote speaker, somebody that I want to do as a profession. So this is great to have him on the show. And, you know, before he started everything, he was a first responder. So thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Hey, guys, welcome to the All Things Gratitude podcast, Drew Aversa. Drew, welcome to the show, my man.
Nick Dorsey, great to be with you, brother. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. You know, it's Friday. I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, so we call it Blue Friday. So we got our Seahawks gear on, you know, because we got playoff season. And, you know, I'm just excited for that. And, you know, it's sunny outside. I know it's sunny where you're at. So, I mean, life's good right now, my man. Life is good.
It's a beautiful day. Yep. And I love the topic of your show, All Things Gratitude. So I think a lot of things we can talk about today about that and shifting into a positive state over the course of this week. You know, we've seen quite a few things that, you know, are really shocking for a lot of people. So I'd love to talk about gratitude as well on your show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. You know, we're obviously going to get into that, but let's start with you, man. Your journey. I mean, what, you know, coming up, you know, younger into becoming a firefighter, you know, then, you know, having a successful career there, then switching over into speaking. So what got you to your point you're at today?
Yeah, it was quite a journey. So I would say my life is somewhat like the story of the Buddha, in a sense, where my father was a big time, you know, international tax attorney. And then my stepfather was a firefighter. So at an early age, I saw this why in the road. And I saw two lives. I saw a life of not being there with your child, of being gone all the time and doing business all the time. And I saw this other life of, you know, you're gone for 24-hour shift, but then you're also home, you know, at baseball games, soccer games, you know, growing up, riding horses like I did, you know, just always present. I wouldn't say always, right, you know, but more present than not, obviously gone for 24-hour shifts. So for me, I really appreciated that. And that was something that I knew that I wanted at an early age. I saw the family unit as something that was really special, having more time with your parent, being there, you know, going through algebra homework and all that, right? Having that person right by your side instead of a tutor or somebody outsourced, like a nanny and all those things. So from there, I made a decision early on that public service and public safety was really where I wanted to be. It was in my heart. At the young age, I had that other why of thinking about going in the Marine Corps. And then from there, like a lot of guys that were in the military, they sat me down last minute. They're like, no, you're going to the fire department. This is how you're going to do it. And you can do it at a young age, you know, but step by step, this is how you need to do it. You need to go to EMT school and paramedic school, and then, you know, work on the ambulance for a while, get some really good experience as a paramedic, and then go in the fire service. So at 17, I enrolled in the EMT program. The first step of that was actually the first responder training program. Then I completed that at the top of my class, and then went in the EMT program, graduated that at the top of my class, and then went to work for the nation's largest ambulance company, American Medical Response. So I worked in a city in West Contra Costa County a lot called Richmond, California. And Richmond, California is kind of like the, you know, like the Compton back in the day when you saw all those rap videos back, you know, when we were growing up. Of a challenging place. And for me, growing up, and I should say, you know, a privileged life growing up, seeing the socioeconomic challenges, seeing the impact of, you had, you know, the grandmothers that were Rosie the Riveters building these wartime ships in Richmond. And then all of a sudden, you know, the next generation, 2 generations down, you know, the 90s, they had the crack wars and all these things, right? So seeing the impact of policy, seeing the impact of decisions and leadership. So that was something that always stood out to me, and the realness of people in those communities, the challenges, the things that go on, it really got to my heart. So then from there, I continued to work, you know, I went down to San Diego, worked busy assignments in San Diego, in the gas lamp, Southeast San Diego on the ambulance, had a great time there. came back up to the Bay Area and worked as a firefighter. And I had a wonderful career in public safety as a firefighter. And unfortunately, I had a career-ending injury, very severe injury, where my hip was crushed. And then from there, made it back to work despite the odds. And then eventually I was medically retired as a first responder, just like a lot of our veterans, who serve. And it's a transition point, right? So got into business and had some great mentors, and that's the journey. So in a nutshell, it's a long journey, but quite a journey.
So what brought you into speaking, all this? Is it your story that you just told right now to help inspire people who maybe gone through an injury in their career and show there's something on the backside of that can really help out?
I would say I've always been a speaker. I started the speech and debate programs, right, in middle school and high school. I was president of our peer education program. So our peer education program, we taught tough topics. We had topics from date rape to peer pressure to substance abuse, to quitting tobacco and all these things. So our peers would choose in the middle school and the high school. It was really cool because my high school was connected to the middle school on the trail. So you could walk down there easily. And then the students would choose what they wanted to be educated on by vote, democratic process. And then we would come in and we would educate them on the topic. And then from there, like we're seeing today, right, the challenges in mental health, different things like that, there just aren't enough people that, either get it or qualified or whatever. So we would be that liaison in between the student and then the one counselor at the school to deal with all these challenges, right? So that was my first start in formal presentations and being groomed and trained how to deliver a presentation and the structure of a presentation, right? And thinking about your audience, what do they need? As opposed to, I'm interested in this, but if I can't give somebody a nugget that they can take and they can actualize and they can use to make their life better, make their company better. So that was the first start. And then at 19, I started volunteering in the EMT program and the first responder program. And then I was hired by the director of the fire science program at Las Positas College at 19 years old to start teaching as an instructor in the program. So from 19 on, for 10 years during my time in public safety, I had an incredible career, mentoring people, training people, educating people. And what I loved about it is this: you take somebody with zero knowledge of a subject, and then you see them go into a career and they're saving people's lives.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job at it. And then they get on with the fire department. Less than 4% of people in a metropolitan department, there's like 4,000 people that take a test and maybe 100 get hired. So when you look at that and being able to help people get hired in highly competitive careers, going through different interview panels, and when we talk about speaking, you think about your interviews. The art of public speaking is not just a big stage and the shiny lights. It's every interview you do, your sales presentations, your meeting, you're connecting with people. And then from there, you get the opportunities that I've been blessed to have of being a keynote speaker at different leadership conferences and being in front of, a few hundred executives, senior leaders, being able to share things. So it's a step-by-step progression. So there are people that never did public speaking early in life, and I always share them. I said, there's things like Toastmasters out there. You can go and do Toastmasters. There's mastermind groups. There are people that, on LinkedIn, right, Nick, you're connecting a lot of cool people, and you could do a mock talk like this if you wanted to get there. And then when you have a larger audience, to me, it's just more impact. Because remember, when you first start speaking, maybe you have a room of 5 people.
Yep.
But if you change one person's life, and what I say with speaking is you're dropping the seeds for change. Because maybe they never heard about that. Maybe they never knew they could do that. You drop that seed for change. It's up to them to water it. And then if they water it, you're changing their life, their kids' life, potentially their family's life, the different things. And some of the stuff I talk about is, are challenging things through my journey. Trauma is one of my subjects, right? And overcoming adversity, overcoming trauma, and then the different methods to heal that are out there that I've used for my own life after my injury. So, I love speaking, man. I talk about speaking all day. Yeah.
That's awesome. And one thing you really said in there, which I love, is you never know. You can change one person's life. If you can change one person's, my leadership style with my teams is my job description is my job description, but what can I do to help them personally, professionally get to where their goals need to be, or actually help them bring the goals out of them they don't realize they can accomplish, So I had a team member once, and this is the greatest thing as a leader, I believe, is, hard interview, a lot going on in their lives, showed me the right attitude. So I hired on a whim, at a lower wage, and came in, ended up being a team. And this person got a really big pay bump, at one point in there. And coming up to my office, she sat down and started crying to me. And I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "It's because of you. I was able to buy a house for my family." And as a leader right there, I'm like, this is what it's all about. My job description is my job description. I don't care if I save the company $1, $2, $3 million. That's what I'm supposed to do. But I just affected somebody's life in a positive way. This is what it's all about. And that almost changed my life in a leadership role right there, because, and it's just giving somebody a chance, because you see the good in somebody, so you work with it. So you're absolutely correct. And that's why I like on LinkedIn, I like connecting to everybody, because some people don't like that, but I'm like, it takes one person to hear you, or for me to hear somebody, somebody can change my life forever, or I can change somebody. This podcast right there, what we just said, can change somebody's life forever if it resonated with them. So I love that, man. That is absolutely awesome. So,
and hey, one thing too, I mean, you mentioned before when we were warming up in the green room on the platform there, was that you are looking at doing more public speaking yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I had somebody tell me this one day, because I was like, how do I do more? I wanted to do more. Yeah. I want to impact more. Yeah. And then my friend just point blank, and radical candor, as my one colleague and close friend says, nowadays radical candor is what we need. And it truly, is. And in this moment in time, I was looked at in the face, and I worked for an incredible CEO out of my transition out of the fire service that really helped elevate me and taught me, how to work at an executive level. So a lot of love to him, and he's one of the top public speakers out there in his industry. So I was talking one day about that. I said, how do I start doing this? And I always remember, he told me, he's like, I wish I got started a little bit younger on some books or some different things. He's like, you're right on track. You're doing fine. But I took a while to absorb everything, the learnings, the lessons, and figure out who I am, like as a speaker. What do I even want to talk about, right? Like what feels good? Because as a speaker, the last thing you want to do is be talking about stuff that you're just like, you want to be motivational. You want to be passionate about what you're talking about and knowledgeable in that subject, of course. So the thing that my friend said was, the only difference between him and you, he's out there doing it.
Yep.
So many people get in their head that I'm not a speaker yet. I'm not this, I'm not that. I don't have a book. I don't have whatever. Step by step, get out there. And if you really want to speak, go. There are so many people that would love to hear you. There, colleges, high school, the rallies. Remember those rallies when we were in school? Yeah, I don't know if they still do them. I bet they do, but maybe probably not with COVID right now. But those things. So there's always room to hear somebody's life story and how they got from where they are, to today. And what are those nuggets? What are those valuable things, called wisdom along the way?
And the great thing is, like, one thing people ask me about, they're like, well, so what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? And I'm like, I want to tell my story, because there's not one, you can't pick up a book, go into a crowd and go step by step down like HR instructions and tell a crowd, this is how you got to do stuff. And they're going to be engaged. People are looking for people's stories. I'm going to be like, my story might not work for 100% of the people out there, but it's going to work for people. And this is how I got to this place. This is what's been successful for me, so they might not be able to take 100% your story, but if they can take it, like you said, a little nugget here or a little nugget there, then they hear me, then they go to you, Drew, and take a nugget here and take a nugget there and put those together. Both of us just affected somebody's life, so that's what I love. That's what I want to be. It's about being authentic, and that's what I'm really working on. And like I told you earlier, building my story, getting it on a presentation, doing those things so I can make it consistent. I talked to somebody today who does some public speaking, and he was like, I make a 60-minute 60-minute speech, and I break it down into 15-minute segments. So then I'm prepared for any type of speech I'm ready to take. If it's a 15, a half hour, 45 minute, or 60, I have it ready. It's ready to go. It's broken down to the segments on what they need me to speak about. So I thought that was a very good tidbit on that. So I'm like,
it's smart. It's smart. I had a keynote one time and it was scheduled for, I think, 45 minutes to an hour. And then I got there, like, can you do this in 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
You know, and I felt bad at first, right? Because as a speaker, you want to deliver value. Yeah. Well, if that's what the client's telling you, you know, hey, can you do this in 5 minutes and can you deliver value? No, you're okay. You know, I felt like, I'm all the way here, and then you want me to do this in 5-10 minutes? Like, all right, okay. You know, so I was like, it's usually, you know, much longer. And then a lot of stuff that I do are workshops, you know, and the workshops are at least a couple hours, if not a half-day workshop.
Yep. So, you know, one thing he did give out to me, he said the reason why he likes doing that is because a lot of times he is scheduled for a 15-minute speech, but then somebody drops out, then it turns into a half hour. You know, they want you to add more. So he goes, I'm almost prepared on the longer side. And he goes, if you to get an hour speech, he's like, good luck, that's long. but he says it's there.
Yeah, I mean, my background with training and education, you know, 2 hours of talking, and because you have to know too, right, that the average attention span now, when we look at digital media and advertising, the scrolls are about 3 seconds now. So if you can't get somebody's attention in 3 seconds, back when I was teaching, they'd say, you know, it was about 15 minutes, 20 minutes was, you know, what you could capture somebody's attention. So it's getting less and less. So you need more breaks. You need more writing exercises. You need more time to engage, collaboration around the room. You know, break it up. Don't be that person that's just talking for an hour.
You know, and if you look up in the the corner of the screen, I got that little GIF up there. And my buddy at Bowman Digital Media, there you go, Ira, made that for me. But the thing is ever since I started using that for things, like you said, it's catching people's eyes because it's flashing. It's got some bright color. It's got me in it. So I've won that little bit of battle. But yeah, I mean, people are just going through their phone like this. And, you know, now if your face popped up and you had a little thing there, I'd be like, oh, stop. What's this? You know, and getting a click is all you want. You want the click. You want people inside there. Then your webpage draws them in. But you got to get them they have to draw in somehow first. You have to get them to that point. So, yeah, you're absolutely correct. I love that. Hey, something you went back on about being a first responder. And first of all, everybody out there, thank you, Drew. I really appreciate it. I come from a military family. My dad was in the military for, I think, 30 years. He was a King County sheriff for 28 years in downtown Seattle. So he had to go to all those neighborhoods outside, and you're talking about, man, he saw stuff, and just, I don't even want to know some of the stuff he had to endure and go with. So first responders and everything and military, it means a lot to me. My circle knows that. They know how much I promote on Veterans Day and all that stuff, and just anything that goes on with that. So I just want to personally say thank you for your service and everything you've done, because I know it's a tough job. But, you know, growing up as a kid, oh, sorry. Serious. Apparently serious. The government's listening. But
you mentioned military. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But no, growing up, I remember I had a friend on our baseball team whose dad was a firefighter, and he would bring all the firefighters in the fire truck to the baseball games. And us little kids, that was the greatest thing ever. You know, oh, fire truck's here. And then they'd let us, you know, go check out the fire truck, go sit in the seat or whatever. And those were highlights. So that was a lot of fun. My dad would show up in his uniform sometimes, and it'd be funny. Some people would take off running, and we're like, well, they shouldn't be here. And other people would be like, wow, what do you do? You know, and all that stuff. So, you know, it was a different lifestyle because how stressed out in that role is. But I tell you what, my dad would leave work early to go watch my game, then go back. You know, I mean, he had the ability to do that, which, you know, was great, you know, because, you know, when you're a kid, it's whatever. But as you're older, you realize that meant a lot, you know. So, and like you said, 24 on and 2 or 3 days off, then 24 on. I mean, that was great for your family structure at that time. I bet you it's even better now for what you do. So, I mean, that's a great thing. So outstanding on that, man. Outstanding. So when a company, let's tell a little bit about your company. So let's say I'm a big CEO of Microsoft, IBM, or whoever, and I call Drew. Okay. Hey, man, you say you're consulting, you say you're doing leadership training, you're doing coaching. What can you do for me that is going to make our company internally better?
Good
How about
question,
that?
Nick. Yeah, great question. So one pillar, right, is coaching. And I firmly believe, through the lens of leadership, we're seeing today that there is an exorbitant amount of power out there today. Power does not equal leadership. Okay. And we're seeing that, in multiple organizations, multiple industries, you have amazing people, smart people. We're seeing, different things. I was, one of my podcasts, I was interviewing somebody who's an expert in measurement, right? And, we're measuring things the wrong way. And we're also not allowing voices of people downstream who may have challenging, opposing views to help innovate your company, to help move your company forward. So through my experience, I've seen that a lot of these companies actually have the brilliant people inside, but then it becomes this mindset issue, right? Of, do I listen to them? Do I allow them to have a seat at the table? And all the challenges that we're seeing today, where now government is coming in, like California, with the board structures and requiring, corporate boards within California to have diversity. This shouldn't have been an issue. Leaders should have always been wanting diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, diversity of sharing. It is how you innovate. It's how you move forward. And it's how you build a better society. So the first pillar is coaching, right? Because if we have people that are stuck and they don't want to accept new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, better cultures, healthier leadership cultures, within their own life, really, because, when you look at a leader, you have to be willing to sit down with the people. You have to be willing. The one lesson I learned that was profound on my paramedic internship: never forget where you came from. Go downstream. Go out in the field for a week. Go ahead, you can schedule an hour. You can schedule an hour with your people. Do that. So one is the coaching piece, executive leadership coaching, and then it's very intimate experience, I would say, because we're talking about those challenging things, and it's a safe place, right, where you can talk about, here are the challenges, here's why we haven't done these things, here are my concerns, and this and that. I've also traveled internationally, so when I look at challenges, I look at different cultures, because different cultures actually have better ways of doing things in certain instances, right? So why are we not bringing some of these different things in to build a healthier culture by looking to the world around us? Because we're so interconnected. So there's no excuse anymore of, this is the American way. Well, the American way might work great in some instances, and in other instances, we've seen, healthcare costs going up and up and up. People aren't healthier in this country. For the first time, we're seeing life expectancy go down, the stress and the mantra, right? And you have to get to the root. We talk about root cause analysis in business, but we don't do it in our own life. So what's the root? What's the driving force, right? The old work ethic, the Protestant work ethic, that work harder and, you get a reward at the end, right? And my person I interviewed on the podcast, we're talking about this pain, punishment, reward cycle, right? So the coaching piece is like, how can we look at things differently? What do you need? Accountability. How can you move forward? So there's step one. Okay. Step two is workshops, leadership workshops, training, different things like that. I develop custom programs with my clients addressing their needs. I have some key things that I do: leadership, mental health, overcoming adversity, resiliency. And then from there, on the motivational, inspirational side, sharing my story. Lastly is the consulting piece. The consulting piece is really, after we get to know each other, what are your big programs? What are your products? What are different things going on within your company that I can help you move the needle? Whether it is building sales teams, whether it's developing a better program, diversity, equity, inclusion. I was on a state disability commission, which was great. So I have a lot of resources and a lot of great people in my network that when I'm consulting, it's not just me. I bring in great people to allow CEOs to have the opportunity to exchange in peer-to-peer executive dialogue with great people that can address also the challenges. So it's really the dot connecting, the strategy at a high level is what I do on the consulting piece. And that's how those three work together nicely.
I like how you mentioned, because it's one of my strategies I use, is find a time to get out of your office and go be with your people. Even if it's not your department, go through the company. I mean, I always said I block an hour in the morning on my schedule and block an hour in the afternoon. one, it gets me out of there to get some exercise. Two, it gets me down in front of the people. And you don't even need to know their names. You just need, if it's other departments, depending on how big your company is, hey man, what's up? How's it going? Fist pump to somebody. Thank you for everything you're doing. Just little things of encouragement, because people want to see the people who are running the company. They really do. They want to see the face. They want to do that. And I hate when people say, I'm too busy, I can't do it. BS. Either hire better people and delegate better. One of the two. Because you can delegate your work.
That's how I do my model, right? Of the coaching pieces first, because if you have a leader that says, Drew, I've got $1 million. Let's just throw $1 million. I have $1 million. Make this program. Okay. How bought in are you?
Yep.
Where are you in this picture? So you want to spend $1 million or 100,000, whatever, $10. I don't care. $1. And you want to develop a program. You want to develop some plan that everybody else, you want to do, but you as the leader are not going to do it. It's not leadership. Okay. It's transactional management. It's I'm the boss. I want this problem to go away. You have to be invested in your company, in your people, and in your future. And the world is changing rapidly. The way that we've been doing it, I love all the people now is, the when's the new normal, or how can we get back? We want to go back. We want to get everybody back in the offices. People didn't want to be there in the first place. Yeah. And if you look at the research, and here's the problem with data. If you look at the research, companies that are design firms, right? For example, they will have data that says every employee wants to be back in the office. If you look at employee surveys, they don't all want to be back in the office. Now they want solutions to childcare. They want solutions to net income of having to, for example, work in San Francisco for $20 an hour and they can't afford it because all the properties are $1 million properties and rents through the roof. They want solutions, right? So how can you be that solution focused leader today, where if your people are doing great work and they're remote and they're enjoying things and they're having better quality of life, or they move to Texas or whatever, and they still love your company, they still love your culture, keep them.
Yeah.
Don't figure out how to pay them less and all these other. Figure out how you can get the best productivity, the best product, the best company, the best culture. And then if they're doing well, why not a bonus? If you're making good money and you could reinvest in your business, having the right mindset, right? And I love Richard Branson, because Branson was always, that guy. And I'm big, that's my leadership style in that. When you look at Virgin America, when you got on Virgin America, it wasn't this tired, outdated corporate airline. Yeah. It was fun.
It was state of the art, all the neon lights and everything. It was a lot of fun.
And then they let the flight attendants got to create some of the signature cocktails, and they had really good culture. And it wasn't this like this and that. I was like, hey, I'm Branson. I'm on a flight with you, and let's figure out this cocktail creation. Let's have fun. And I think if companies can get to that, I always say, we saw. The other day, Nick, you and I were talking about that a little bit before the show. My heart goes out to the Capitol Police as a first responder. And, we swear an oath, to risk our life and to give our life in the line of service knowingly. And unfortunately, I think that event, a lot of preventable things, I would say, and seeing an officer, and family members and all that, my heart's heavy, over that. And, where we go, right? We know what we need in leadership. We need leadership. We need to stop preserving the status quo. We need to stop protecting and, if people don't agree with you and trying to figure out ways to have HR get them out of there, different things like that. We have to start having these uncomfortable conversations and learning, right? So that's why you bring a coach in. That's why you bring a speaker in, have somebody like yourself, Nick, come in and talk. That's the value of having a coach, having a speaker, and then putting the right program in place that you're bought into as a leader and doing the work. There's no easy out in life. There's no easy shortcut. I was in a wheelchair when my hip was crushed to where I am today. And you talk about gratitude. I'm grateful I can walk. Yeah. I'm grateful I can walk. Okay. And I'm grateful I can use the pain to help other people. So that is my hope, for this world that we're living in, and, just making things better through the lens of leadership, because leadership is so important. And I think there are amazing people trying, there are amazing people doing, and there are amazing people who are ineffective because of the top down stuff going on today. Yep. And they're great leaders. They have a great position. They have a great voice. They want to do the right thing. So we need to get those people moved up. We need to figure out how do we do that. And that's when you look through the lens of, like a Richard Branson culture, different things like that. Make it fun, man, because we saw just the other day, and not only was police officer's life taken, a veteran who was one of the, the activists, protesters, whatever you want to call, that. I'm not going to get into politics over that. 2 people's lives are lost. And, you look at that, just do the right thing. Your life is short, it's precious. And if you're not happy, if you're whatever's going on, do the right thing, get help, figure out how to create a healthy culture as a leader, and that's the thing. If the leader's not healthy, the company's not healthy. Right. So we're seeing a lot of this stuff. And I just encourage people, it's okay to not be okay right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in our world. But there is a beautiful world out there. There are amazing people out there that are trying to move the paradigm's the new word. I love all these buzzwords, right? The new paradigm, right? Not the new normal, the new paradigm. So that's my little nugget, I guess, for today is, be a leader, be bold, be courageous, and be with your people right now. Your people need you. People are so stressed, they're so anxious, and they need you to hey, we got your back. We're doing everything we can not to lay people off. We're doing XYZ, and we really care about you. Here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do. Here are some resources around you. Here's a food bank that has, food if you need food. I mean, Americans right now are going without food. This is America. This country I took an oath to for, service at the, not on the military level, but service at the local level. Right. And I believe in this country. We need to get things back on track, and we need to take care of each other. And it starts with every single one of us at the local level. I mean, we can't wait for everybody big to do everything. So leadership might be big in your company, but remember, you can call your neighbor. 50% of Americans don't know their neighbor's name, Nick.
Yeah, I agree.
Call. Hey, are you Nick? Nick,
Yep.
I'm going to get you food today. So that's my nugget I want to leave with everybody is, if you don't know your neighbor's name, start leadership skills, start leadership development right now. You can do it right now. It's not this big CEO to CEO conversation. It's you. And then eventually you get to be that CEO perhaps, or if you're CEO, then take care of your people.
I want to highlight a couple things there, right? You said, one, the state of the world and with these lockdowns and everything and mental health. Like we talk about, we have a LinkedIn group. We talk with each other all the time. We're personal friends too and everything. We're like, just text somebody. Just reach out to somebody. That maybe can change their life right there, because maybe they're just in this dark place. Nobody's talked to them for a couple of weeks. They got all this stuff going on, and maybe all they need is that little bit of encouragement. Hey, Drew, I'm just checking and making sure you're okay, man. Let me know if I can do anything. That one little phrase there can change somebody's life and just upbeat them a little bit, because we need that now. I have friends over in the UK. They're on total lockdown over there, and it's like, we want to make sure we send some jokes or do anything just to keep them just pepped up, because it's insane, and like you said, whatever side the eye on, whatever you're thinking, wherever you're at, it is what it is at that where you're at, and it sucks. But let's try to help those people. And like where I'm at, it's not locked down. And sometimes we kind of forget that here, that people like California, Washington, New York, there's some struggles going on. We got to reach out to people in those areas and just, hey guys, are you okay? What's going on? Hey, do you have time for a 10-minute phone call? Do you want to jump on a Zoom? Just something, so you're absolutely correct.
And the gratitude piece, right? I mean, you want to be you always want to be grateful. You want to focus on the good in your life and all that thing. I think, now we also have to accept some reality, right? Or as a coach, people are going through hard times, and we see all this motivational stuff on Facebook, all the content creators and these different things. Just know that if you're going through a hard time, it's perfectly okay to go through a hard time. Now, I would say that hopefully there's this like reset point where you don't go slipping down here. You should know, like, if you go down here, that's not that's the spiral, right?
Yeah.
So like, make sure you're taking care of yourself, self-care, all these things, but don't go spiraling past that point of no return, and reach out. There's so many resources out there. For veterans, there are experiential programs out there, trauma recovery programs, different things like that. So there are a lot of different things out there today that, through the lens of Google, right, and searching, through my own journey, I was a top-notch researcher. I probably have a PhD in this stuff by now with the research that I had to do to heal myself naturally. And, I went through yoga, meditation, different retreats, different programs, experiential programs, and just wonderful people along the way. So I strongly encourage, like you said, Nick, reach out to me, reach out to Nick.
Yep.
You never feel like you're alone. The hotlines, if you need a call, people are very empathetic. They have a lot of resources too. So you're never alone. You're only alone by choice.
And there are a lot of people out there that will give free resources. That's the thing. They're out there. They are out there. So you just got to find them, but they are out there. So, the next thing I want to touch on is like you're talking about company culture. Yeah. And what companies I don't think realize is this day and age now, it's been 20, 25 years. I'm trying to remember because the internet launched when I was a freshman in college. So, it's been some time.
You've got mail.
Sometimes the kids are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's only been X amount of years. It hasn't been that long. You don't realize iPhone's only been around for like 15 years. It's not like they've been around forever.
No, but, when that thing came out, I had nice hair, young first responder,
So, but what I try to tell people, like leadership too, is I try to stress to them, you need to build that good culture. You need to get down there because right now I get probably about 40 to 50 some types of inboxes, emails, or whatever from recruiters daily. It's out there. I can get up and jump ship anytime because it's out there all the time, and I don't think companies realize that. And people are willing to jump ship for $1 or $2 an hour. And it's because of the culture that the company's built. I know people who've not jumped ship for, been offered $8, $9, $10 more an hour, which could be life changing, but they're like, I love where I work. I'm comfortable with it. I get what I need. They let me leave early for doctor's appointments. I can come back. I mean, a lot of these just little perks, people don't realize those are little perks you can give that doesn't cost the company anything. And my big thing is, why do you think we're not in an era anymore, Drew, where it's like our mom and dad or our grandpa's eras where people are going to be at companies for 30 or 40 years. It's just not happening anymore. It's just
Silicon Valley. I mean, a year and a half, you're good. That's a good tenure.
Yeah. So I try to tell people and preach to them, listen, let's build a culture, because when I worked at a casino, when we went and had to rehire somebody, it was $10,000 an employee to rehire. And when I got there, our department had almost a 40% turnover rate. So think about how much money it was costing the casino to rehire at a 40% clip of 101 person. So 40 people a year.
Absolutely. 40 people. But here's the deal. If you do the right thing from the start. That was
insane.
If you do the right thing from the start, the right thing from the start, it's the problem is, humans, we think we're more complex than we are, right? But people need basic things. They need basic things. And this country has so much wealth. This country, we look at, we're the top superpower in the world. And if we don't change, it's PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they put out a thing that in, 20, 30 years, we'll be potentially third, right? China and then India and then USA. So it's preventable if we start doing the right things. If we say, the student loan crisis is a crisis, but we have to get to the root cause. People are getting these degrees, and then the employers, that degree's not relevant, or blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. You see those job descriptions. They want a PhD and they want to pay them $20 an hour, $15 an hour, right? You talk like these long job descriptions. Like, I want all these things.
So, they want somebody under 30 with 15 years experience and a PhD. It's like, what?
Yeah, for $10, so it's just when you start looking at that, and those are easy ways to judge culture too. Like if you literally get on Indeed, you could go through all the job applications and you'd be like, that's a healthy culture. That sounds like a positive, uplifting environment to work in. Or that thing is like super transactional. They have a policy book like this, and run away. So you can see transactional cultures and you can see transformational cultures. And if you're a transformational leader, understand, like, seriously, we've seen the failure of our government through this election, through this pandemic. We've seen just epic failure. I mean, there's no nicer way to put it. And I don't care what party you're on. I think we can all agree that there's just basic things that are not happening that should be happening across the board. So when we look at that, people are hungry, man. If they don't have good nutrition, okay, understand the body. As a leader, you need to understand a lot more than just managing P&L. Okay, you got to understand people. You need to understand nutrition. You need to understand all these different things. So performance. You want a high-performing organization. If your people are hungry, or they're on food stamps and they're eating boxed mashed potatoes, crap food, and you're going out dining on a corporate expense card and having a top quality steak that's organic, good vegetables, a good protein shake that's prepared for you in the morning, one of those on-demand meal deliveries, right? And your people are eating junk food, they're going to be sluggish. They're not fueled the same way you are. So as a leader, little things, if you need to get your people fresh vegetables or fresh produce, have one of those companies that sends, people aren't in the office now, but you can still send it at home, a fresh fruit basket to the house, and give people choice. Hey, do you want this? We're doing this because we believe that these can help you be healthier and da-da-da-da-da. Spend a little bit more money and you will get performance. Those people who know that if they spend just a little bit, they will actually yield more, have better cultures, as opposed to those that keep always trying to focus on how can I shred money? How can I save money? How can I do, like, we're getting in this culture now of this race to the bottom, right? And we see Amazon is all about margin, highly successful. So it's creating this picture. If you want to be the billionaire Bezos, then you got to and then margin everything. So we're just getting to this point. We're literally whittling away quality of life. We're whittling away these different things. Not, and statistically, you can look at the statistics out there on engagement, on the issues, what employees want versus, there's a great survey from Deloitte, and it actually shows you like what your employees want versus what you are giving, right, in your benefits program. And a lot of the things that you're giving in your benefits program are not things that people even want. So go read the research, go figure that out, and then, work with Nick, myself, somebody else, and really look at this from a holistic way. And I guarantee you'll see better results in your business with your retention. Because if you create a culture where people know that, like, I can't get better, like, unless I go start my own company, I can't. Like, this is freaking amazing. Why would I want to leave?
Exactly. I got a good one for you, Drew. I was in an exit interview once, and as I was leaving on to the next venture, and they're like, "Hey, you saved this much money for our casino. We are so happy, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And they looked at me like, "What? Aren't you happy?" I'm like, "Well, isn't that what you brought me in to do?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I go, "Why don't we look at some really cool things?" I was able to train and mentor 2 people to get higher positions. That was great. And the biggest thing was, I took your turnover rate from 40% down to under 2%. I saved you guys about $300,000 just on that, which is going to build you a better culture and keep people around. I go, that's what I'm more proud of. I go, that's it right there. I go, that's why you guys struggle here, is because you guys don't see that. You don't see that. And turnover rate, you'll get a bad apple. It just happens. People make it through. You'll get a bad apple, but not at a 40% clip. That's all I know. I go, that comes from leadership, because either leadership's not training, they're not down there, or they just don't even know who they have on staff. And
hey, man, I say if you can change people's hearts, you can change their mind, Nick.
Absolutely.
And that's where the coaching comes in, is really changing people's hearts, because the mind, the mind's easy. I mean, everybody can do basic math. Everybody can figure that out. But how do you change your heart, and then how do you make the right decision, right? I mean, it just because you're giving back doesn't mean it's a bad, move financially. Like you said, I mean, you got people promoted, they stayed within the organization. You're retaining. I joke because people talk about intellectual property, right? And in our legal culture, everyone's like, "Oh, the IP attorney, IP." Do you know what intellectual property is? It's
people
you.
Don't.
It's you. It's this thing. It's your brain. It's the people. It's the collective brains within your organization. So when you lose intellectual property, here they go and they create a better thing with a better culture and a better environment. And you saw, I mean, you look at different tech companies, right, where these guys leave these companies and then they go on to be billionaires when they got in fights, and different things with the CEOs. I want to do things this way. This is really going to revolutionize. No, you're not going to do da 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 da. Instead of what if? What's possible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's explore this. Maybe I can't do it, but let's at least have a conversation. Come to me with a good plan. Come to me with everything thought out, and let's see what's possible.
Absolutely. So before we button up here a little bit, Drew, I mean, are you a sports fan at all?
I grew up, man. I'm probably the most atypical guy out there. 6'3", big guys, firefighter. I grew up showing Arabian horses, so I love horses. I've actually friends that have played professional sports, and why we're friends is I don't know it. I go to the games. I enjoy the games, but I have normal conversations with these guys.
It's all good. I was going to ask you if sorry for the term, a horse in the game for the playoffs, but hey,
no, I haven't. I like going to the game. I'm the guy that's at the final 20 minutes of the game, I like showing up there because that's when the excitement is. The first half hour, I'd rather be talking about leadership, business coaching, whatever, than get there for the last 20 minutes and great, wow. I am a big Giants fan. Go Giants! I do love my Giants and the Warriors. Steph Curry, big fan of Steph and his leadership, and him as a faith-centered man. I think he demonstrates that in all he does for the community. So
that dude is insane. Number one, he's probably one of the best shooters ever. But number two, like you said, you watch interviews with them, and you even get people who shoot the secret videos. He doesn't change. He's the same. He's just genuine, and that's really cool. I'm a Seattle fan who lives in Arizona, which there's a lot of us down here. But one of the big people down here is Larry Fitzgerald. He is loved by the community. He's out doing a lot of stuff, and I've come across him a couple times at high school football games, and I mean, just he's willing to go up and shake people's hands and have a little conversation with them. And to me, that's the epitome of a pro athlete because they are people's heroes. People do look up for them, and people say, well, it's a job, this and that. But, it's also a job to give back to. I really do believe. So, I mean, yeah, you brought up somebody good, Steph. I brought up somebody, Larry. I mean, it's great things, man.
And on the coaching side, I have one client that, is executive. And when he first got in that position, he didn't feel like he belonged in that position. So, oftentimes we don't feel like we belong. And I kept telling him, I said, hey, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Buck up. Okay. Yep. And realize the gift. And if you believe in a higher calling and a higher power, I believe in God. That's my personal deal. Everybody has a different thing, right? And if you are positioned in a leadership role and you believe through the lens of faith or whatever you believe, use it wisely and understand you're there for a reason. Yep. And then be humble, man. Like I said, never forget where you came from. And then who really got you there. And then from there, what do you do with it, right? How do you have impact? How do you have legacy? How do you change things for the better? And the one lesson I'll leave everybody with in the fire service, after a big fire, you have equipment that's dirty. The whole thing is you could restore it to the same spot, right? Let's say you got on the engine that day and the axe was, whatever. Do you return it back to the same condition, or do you return it back to a better condition than you found it? And you always want to return things back to a better condition than when you found it. That's legacy.
Yep. Awesome, man. And like your friend who took that position, listen, like you're right. I believe things happen for a reason. You're meant to be in certain places at certain times, and you're supposed to come across these bumps in the roads and everything because it does build your legacy. And, that person you're talking about, somebody believed in them and somebody put them there for a reason. So guess what? You do deserve to be there if the person who hired you believed you could do it. So that's the way I look at it. I've been given opportunities maybe I shouldn't have got, but took full advantage of them and ran with it, and it made me better. Did I make mistakes? Yes, I did. But every leader is going to make mistakes. That's what people got to realize. You don't want to make a mistake that costs the company millions and millions and millions, but you
Be
know,
careful with social media and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because
but people do make mistakes. I come in, I'm going to bring in a bad vendor every once in a while.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to forget a zero on a spreadsheet. Oops. But we fixed it right away. You know, just something. Mistakes do happen. Or how you handle somebody in an HR situation. You know, you might say something that is cool with you and your boys at home and everything, but you go to work and you say it on accident, and you know you're not meaning to offend somebody, but you do. You know, that stuff happens.
That's where we need this radical candor, in a sense of this in leadership, where, for example, you know, if he's back to the fire service times, because I use that. We had tabletop exercises, right? If the house is on fire here, if this happens there, what do you do? What do you do? And then taking those quote unquote mistakes, right? If a friend who works for White and Kennedy, who's number one, you know, they do the Nike ads, all the cool things like that. And I got a tour of their office in Portland. It's amazing. Their interns had this push pin board, right? So they have all these white push pins. And then when you read it and you stand back from it, it says fail harder, fail harder. And the whole point of that is to learn from your failures. And if you don't fail, you're never going to grow. You're never going to have change. Our country, we've seen it now, all the issues we have. You know, hopefully, I always say, like, America can solve all problems if we work together to accelerate progress, right? Mm-hmm. So if you know the failure, accelerate the progress. Don't justify, oh yeah, let's change this and take 5 years to do it. Get on with it, man. Go make the best culture, make the best country, make the best product, make the best whatever, and use failure as a force for good. And like I learned in India with Mahindra company when I was there in graduate school, they give a failure award. Now, the funny thing is with this, Nick, is you can get the failure award once. If you get it twice, you're fired. Okay. So
fair enough.
They encourage the innovation. They encourage innovation through failure. Yeah. So, you know, the point is, don't keep failing it. You know, you need to learn from your failure, right? You know, but you're not going to get the award twice in a row. But if you have a failure and it leads to something good and it leads to change and all that, hey, that's what we talk about evolving as a person, as a society, as a species, whatever.
You know, some of the most famous brands out there have failed multiple times. Kentucky Fried Chicken, Walt Disney, you know, all those things failed multiple times. Look what they turned into.
Henry Ford.
Yep, Henry Ford. And then he invented one of the greatest things ever, the conveyor system and all that stuff, you know, down there for his people. But he was very great to giving better wages, finding better ways to do things. So, I mean, Henry Ford's a great story. I know people out there, you probably know him, but if you don't, read his story, read what he's done. I mean, he's got some great quotes out there, and he fought for the Ford Motor Company. Oh man, those stories are great to read, what he had to do to get to his point. So, hey, Drew, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much. Tell everybody out there where they can find you, my friend.
Thank you. I am, grateful, honestly, to be with you and your audience. And, you know, hopefully there are a few good nuggets dropped today. And if you like that, let us know in the comments below on LinkedIn and social media. But, you know, obviously my website, drewaversa.com, you can learn more about me there. There's a chat on there. You can send me a message. We can get in touch, as well as social media, Instagram, Facebook, and then LinkedIn. I've got about 12,000 people in my network on LinkedIn, just amazing people, and happy to connect people for right opportunities, the right networking, and different things to, like I said, make this world a better place.
Hey guys, if you're interested in having Drew in your podcast or anything, you know, you can DM him, DM me, and, you know, we can make the introduction. You know, a great guest to have on. Guys, you can find me up there in the corner. Find me on LinkedIn.
Can I go the right direction? Am I going the right? Oh, wait.
The other way. There you go. Over there. YouTube.
All these Zoom meetings and these things. I'm still.
All my link tree is down below. You can hit all 8 sites from that link tree. Thank you, everybody who tuned in on LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. I will post this onto IG later today. Everybody, thanks for showing up today. We really appreciate it. Drew, thanks for being on the show. Everybody have a great weekend. Monday, tune in at noon Mountain Time again. We're going to have financial advisor, my man, Jesse T, on the show. So come check that out. Maybe he'll teach us how to make our money worth a little more than what it is. So come check that out. Drew, man, thank you once again. Have a great weekend, my friend, and stay safe out there.
Thanks, brother. Great to be with you, and everybody be good to each other.
Yeah.